Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all having an amazing start to your day. Welcome to this amazing live that's about to happen with my good friend Alex, who is a vegan Ironman. So I'm super excited to be chatting with him today. I know he told me he need a few minutes before he jumps on, so I'll just wait for a few of you guys to jump on the live. So just a reminder, if you're watching live, be sure to comment live. If you're watching as a replay, be sure to comment a replay in the comment section below. If you do have any questions and you're watching on the replay, be sure to comment them down below and tag myself or Alex, and we'll be able to answer them for you. Get really excited to hear and for Alex to share his story with you guys, because he just had a crazy story to get to where he is at now, to be vegan and to be competing in Ironman. As some of you guys know, if you're new to me, I used to compete in Ironman as well. I did pretty much every single physical transformation, performance thing that you can do with your body. I think I stopped competing about, is it almost 2 years ago? I think almost 2 years ago I stopped competing in Ironman, but I used to do Olympic distance triathlon and half Ironman distance fully as a vegan. So I'm really excited to hear Alex's perspective as to how he got there, how he's training, how he's fueling his training and his performance and his recovery. So you guys are on the live right now. While we're waiting for Alex, how many of you guys are vegan and how long have you been vegan? And I'm curious if any of you guys have ever done an Ironman or any endurance event. So whether that is marathon, long distance, some swimming, some Olympic distance triathlon, some half Ironman, some full Ironmans, 5K, 10K. I'm curious to know if we have some endurance athletes in the audience today. I see we've got a few people. Luscious Jungle, that's a great name. Kyle, what's up, brother? Hope you're doing well. Bebop Fit, you guys have awesome handles. You guys getting very creative with these handles. Beautiful. All right. Let me see here. There's a few guys. Awesome. So yes, as Alex comes on, then we'll be able to share a little bit more details into his story. So if you're watching a replay, I think you click on the right side of the screen, you'll be able to skip through a little bit until he comes on. But yeah, one thing I do want to mention for a vegan Ironman and competing, for me personally, it changed drastically how I was able to recover, which therefore affected my performance. So some of you guys that are vegan, you already know the amazing recovery benefits from eating vegan. You do get benefits if you're eating vegan in some type of processed food, but the closer you get to whole food plant-based, the better your recovery becomes. The better you're able to kind of like reduce inflammation in your body, not to get rid of the lactic acid, but you're just giving your body more building blocks in terms of vitamins and nutrients and minerals, so that your body can do what it needs to do in order for you to recover. And the name of the game when it comes to performance and especially long distance endurance events is recovery, right? Because you're gonna have to train so often in order to be able to perform these long distances. You need to get your body used to being on the pavement, running for that long, swimming for that long, cycling for that long, and therefore you're gonna have a lot of training sessions. And the name of the game when it comes to being able to perform is how many training sessions you can get in. If I get 10 training sessions in a week and you only get 5, at the end of the year, who's gonna be the better athlete, right? Chances are I'm gonna be the better athlete because I got double the amount of workouts per week than you did. And for a full year, that's a lot of workouts that I got done more than you did, right? And so how are you able to train more when it comes to endurance, right? We're not talking about fat loss or shift in body composition or anything like that. How are you able to train more? Then the name of the game is just recovery, right? And one of the key things that are going to impact your recovery, some of them are going to be obviously your nutrition. It's going to play the biggest role in terms of how fast you'll be able to recover. And second is going to be your sleep, right? And then you fall into hydration, stress management, and all of that. But sleep and nutrition are going to be the two biggest factors that are going to affect your speed of recovery. I don't know if you guys ever went for I invite you to try this out. Go for a really hard training session, like a training session that you don't normally do, that's just out of your zone of comfort, and then go eat some terrible food after and see how you feel the next day and 2 days after. And then go do the same workout maybe 2 weeks later, but then after that, go fuel your body with whole food plant-based options and just keep eating healthy and watch how much faster you recover the day and the following day, right? Like mentally, you're gonna be in a different headspace, but physically your body is going to be a lot less sore and a lot less in pain because again, you'll have reduced inflammation. You will have given your body the building blocks that it needs in order to recover for your session, all right? I see we got a few members of the Fit Vegan Tribe. We got Neha, Kyla, good morning. Roxanne, good morning. Emily, good morning. Beautiful, a lot of amazing people on the live today. Perfect. So guys, any question while Alex comes on, any questions you have for myself, you can ask them in the comment section box or in the comment section. Any questions you have for Alex, be sure to ask them there as well, and then we'll be able to answer them for you. Alex did text me that he was just coming back from the gym, so I'll be able to jump on shortly. Beautiful. So guys, let me know where you're from and for how long you've been vegan. I want to see for how long you guys have been vegan for. All right, there you go. We have Alex right here. Beautiful. So yeah, guys, any questions you may have, this is your opportunity to do so. We're letting Alex in. Probably gonna have to reframe my camera because it always changes every time we do a live with someone. There you go.
Hey
man, how you doing?
What's happening?
What's up, man? It's been a while.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Did Spartan, was that the last time we saw each other?
I think that was the last time.
Oh man, too long.
Yeah. How you been?
Been good. Busy, so can't complain, you know. Same old grind, training, working, walking the pup.
Good, man. When's the next race?
Oh, well, so as of right now, the next thing that I'm for sure doing is another Tough Mudder in San Bernardino on April 9th, I believe.
Okay.
That's like the next thing I have officially on the calendar. So I was planning on doing Oceanside again. So I just did Ironman Oceanside the day before Halloween, so end of October. And then because it's usually in the spring, but with all, you know, COVID and everything, it got deferred. So I was like, well, that was a great race. It's in California. I want to go at it again, PR. And then I went to register and it's sold out. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then so I was like, all right, well, what's next in line? And that was Ironman Galveston. Went to register, sold out. So a lot of these these spring season Ironman races, at least in North America, are sold out already. So it's kind of one of those, you know, like didn't jump on it. So looks like we're training or, you know, leading up to late summer, potentially fall as far as Ironman triathlon goes. But now the next objective for me is to run the Leona Divide, which is a 100-kilometer trail run.
Okay.
And that's going to be coming up end of April. I think it's April 23rd. So about two months and change out from now. We're gonna start. I'm looking to do that with our buddy Chris, and we're gonna start gearing up and get the Leona Divide going.
Sweet. Yeah, because I did see I think you're training with Chris. I think it was to do Oceanside, right? Was Chris gonna do it?
Yeah. So that was the plan. And then we went to sign up, and it was like registration sold out. So it's like, oh, okay, well, you know, it's the thought that counts, right? So we're definitely. I mean, we're keeping swim, bike, run on the schedule for sure. But with it being later in the season now, as far as doing an Ironman okay. As far as doing an Ironman event, it's looking like it'll be a little bit later in the season, which for me is fine. You know, I'm totally cool with that because I wanna do a nice, steady, gradual, you know, taper up into the race. And having just done one, you know, like that, it's just been scratched a little bit. So for me, I'm really into ultra at the moment, and kind of want to see, I want to do 100 miles ultimately. So gearing up closer and closer to that, having just done 50K for the first time, going after 100K next, and then 100 miles after that.
Is 100 mile 160 kilometers? Is it 160 or 120?
I think it's 160.
Okay. 1.6.
Yeah, kilometer is like almost, it's like around 1.5.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a long distance to run, man. Well, dude.
Yeah.
So it's a long distance or it's a long time to run. I saw Chris.
Yeah. I mean, it's a long distance to drive.
Yeah, that's 2 hours, man. It's almost like 2 hours.
Right? Yeah.
I saw Chris comments that he said he's going to beat you again. So we got a little bet going on between you two.
Yeah. His let's just say his timing chip was 1 second in front of mine at the Bulldog Ultra Marathon.
Okay. 1 second? That's pretty close. You might just want to sprint at the end. That's how you need it.
Yeah, you know, I mean, a win's a win, but
yeah, you're gonna change
some of us were there.
Yeah,
Some of us were there.
dude. I want to do a live with you for just because, like, obviously, like you jumping on, being, oh, I'm gonna do 100 miles, doing a 100-kilometer race, and then doing Ironman. People are like, what the fuck? Like, I can't even comprehend being able to like exercise for that long, even if it's just at home. So, dude, I kind of want to, Chris, if you're not first, you're last. Great line.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I just kind of want to bring you on and just for you to kind of share like how you got there, right? Because you weren't always vegan, you weren't always like crushing the 100-kilometer races. Nice cup of coffee.
The essentials.
Right? Like you weren't always doing all of these things, and I'm a big believer that everyone can accomplish whatever it is that they want as long as they train for it, right? You didn't get to where you're at now just being, oh, I want to do this, and therefore I'm able to do it. So do you mind kind of sharing like how you got to this place? So like, first of all, just being vegan.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you know, for those of you that are on here that aren't familiar with who I am, you hit the nail on the head with the fact that this is not how my life was. Up until relatively recently, I mean, the last 4.5 years have been a really huge evolution for me. Prior to that, my life revolved around alcohol and drug abuse and music and, you know, a lot of things like that. But it was wake up, where's my next drink? You know, where's my pack of smokes, and what kind of important things can I avoid today? Mm-hmm. And that was the way that I lived my life. And it wasn't until my dog Bodhi came into the picture. So 5 years ago, this puppy fell into my lap and essentially became the first presence of tangible responsibility that I was able to see, you know, and I was like 24, 25 at the time. And one night I was sitting up with him and sitting on the couch having a few beers. I got my pup in my lap. He's like, you know, 5 months old, I think, something like that. And I watched this film called Okja, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but it's a really great film. And the movie is centered around this girl who grows up in the countryside on her grandfather's farm. And her grandfather was given this genetically engineered giant super pig to raise, and the pigs take 10 years to come to harvest. So this girl's grown up with this pig as her best friend for the first decade of her life. And he's 10 now, and they come and they take him away. And so the whole movie is her chasing them down to get him back. And it just hit home so hard for me. And it's really centered around like the reality and cruelty of animal agriculture and how each and every single one of these animals in that system is an individual that does not want to be there. These animals are forced into the situation against their will. It's a non-consensual situation. And so, you know, for me being there and having Bodhi and just right place, right time, stars aligned, and the fucking floodgates opened, you know, and I was just bawling my eyes out. I'm like, oh man, I can't do this. Like, I can't eat animals. And so I decided to go vegetarian that night. And that would be the thing, you know, that really tipped the snowball off the edge of the mountain to start gaining momentum towards making better decisions. So over the next several months, I started, you know, implementing this new core value in all of my decision making. Like, ooh, let me double check that label, or let me ask what's in this, you know, or like, you know what, actually, can I send this back? You know, I'd rather there not be dairy in it, or, you know, I'd rather not pay for that, or was this shampoo tested on animals? Like, just taking that split second to see if this next thing I'm about to do aligns with my values, or this, you know, this newfound core value that I've decided to implement. And that ultimately would get strong enough at you know, as an impulse or an instinct within my decision making, that when I would go out on my final bender and wake up from a 3.5-day blackout, that got filtered through that buffer, that code of ethics of holy shit, does this align with my values? Does this align with the kind of person that I want to be? Because I realized in that moment when I woke up that I was harming Bodhi.
Yeah.
And these choices that I was making to act out or react to my emotions in a single moment, as opposed to looking at the broad spectrum of the effect of my actions, it's not vegan at all. I'm going to die in this apartment when I overdose or drink myself to death, which was a very, very, very present and real reality with the nature of how I was drinking at the time. And what's going to happen to him, so that all clicked in a moment and was like, wow, this isn't who I want to be. This isn't who I tell myself I want to be. And so in that moment, I decided to give it all up.
Dude, gives me chills. I love hearing people's moment, like the moment where like it just clicks and everything just makes sense. Maybe you've seen it before, maybe you've heard about it before, but it's just like it wasn't the right time. So I'm happy that time happened for you, man. So how fast was that switch? Obviously, having that moment, was it just like cold turkey, or was it like a transitioning slowly out and then started?
No, it was cold turkey. I gave up drinking, cigarettes, narcotics, Tylenol, like anything that was problematic or essentially pharmaceutical, in that moment, right then and there. And for me, mainly, so my main issue was alcohol. I had been an alcoholic. I fell in love with alcohol at 13 and was already an alcoholic, like functioning in a dependency at 17. And it would go on for 10 more years from there. So getting alcohol out of the picture and keeping alcohol out of the picture has always been the main objective. It's like the sun to my solar system of recovery. It's good. It's referred to as a DOC, your drug of choice. So in recovery, you bring a lot of focus to your DOC and what was that thing for you, and it can be different for everybody. Especially when we're having addictive impulses. For some people it's ice cream, eating disorder. Some people it's social media, porn, whatever it might be. For me, it was alcohol. That was something that I could not go a moment without thinking about. When's my next drink? Where's my next drink? How fucked up am I going to get today? And so it was cold turkey. I white knuckled the shit out of my sobriety, and I didn't go to recovery either. So it was like, I'm just going to change. I'm going to change. And it was because I had built up enough trust in myself because of going vegan. That was just enough trust in myself that I needed to believe that I could accomplish this. And so with that combination of that faith in myself and that desire to change was like the perfect storm to be like, let's fucking do this. And so from that moment forward, initially it was like, okay, well, I got to make it through this detox because, white knuckling alcohol can be very problematic. It can be really hard on the system. It's actually pretty dangerous to do. To just stop drinking because of the volume that you're consuming. But luckily, I had just spent the last several months learning all about the power of a plant-based diet. And so it was like, okay, well, I'm going to nurture my body through this detox with food. Like, I'm going to use fruits and vegetables as medicine. And so it was like, I started eating just really, really like whole foods, like really keeping an eye on my hydration, making sure that I was constantly taking in all of the water that I needed and like quality water, drinking juice, not like crazy amounts. Like I didn't become like like fucking Juice Life or anything like that. But it was like, like a ginger shot or like a celery juice, and like once a day maybe. And, but really eating my nutrition and like lots of dark leafy greens and whole foods and things like that. And And I started to realize as the days went on, like, I feel better, I feel better, I feel better and better and better. And it just kept going up and up and up. And then after a, you know, a little bit of time, like, you know, a matter of a week or two, it was like, okay, my body's starting to feel pretty functional. Let's implement some movement. And so it started with, you know, a quick run around the block. Like, I dug out an old pair of running shoes, and it was like, I'm gonna go for a little run. And then for, you know, that run, and then I get back and, you know, stretch, maybe do some push-ups and stuff like that. And ultimately, you know, that short run would go from, you know, 10 minutes to 20 to 30 to Ironman.
Yeah.
You know, there's obviously a lot of info in there. There's a story in there, but that was, you know, from that first moment, I crossed the finish line of my first Ironman in Santa Cruz 9 months sober. So that was, it was a steady, gradual evolution from that morning that I decided to give it up to 9 months later. Now I'm an Ironman.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate sharing that. The whole reason you went vegan. I appreciate sharing this.
Gotta.
A lot of people are, there you go.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people are not willing to like start with running around the block and going from like 10 to 20 to 30. And people just want to like jump in sometimes and be a little bit more intense. And so obviously running just seems like the most like logical thing to like exercise, to like move your body. But what got you to be like, hey, I want to run around the block to like, I'm just going to do a full-blown Ironman? There's a process that had to happen there.
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially, it was just the way that it worked out for me. You know, I mean, like at this point, I can really dive into my understanding of like what running means to a human. You know, like it's very primal. Like it's very human. We are bipedal, you know, earthlings that are literally designed to travel from one place to another on 2 feet. We've been marching in unison towards greener pastures for thousands of years. And when you get out there and you just go run and you get in that kind of elongated state of forward motion, something happens. Something happens to the spirit. And so that's a whole other thing. You know, that's a part of it. But initially, it was just like, well, it just seems like, you know, like I had always been like, I'd always admired like the fucking fitness montages of like boxing movies and shit. You see them out there in sweatpants with a hood on, like running down the street. And so it's like there was an aspect of me that like always like, well, oh, that's how you do it. That's how you beat the bad guy. That's how you get better. You know, like it's just like all you got to do is watch any of the 19 Rocky movies, and like you know how to come back. You know, and running is like a part of that. You run, you do push-ups, you like fucking punch trees or something, you know. It's like it was a very like basic entry level like you know, Western idea of like, I'm just gonna go run. And so I had been running, you know, for I think it was I had been clean for a month and going on these little runs and, you know, working out a bit, doing like 10-minute YouTube yoga videos, and really building a relationship with my nutrition and my food. And I ran into a buddy of mine, a good buddy of mine, Jose, who I had known since I was younger. I mean, like the early partying days. And we used to party together like crazy. And I can't remember where we ran into each other, but it was like, oh, what's up, bro? Like, how you been? Blah, 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 blah. And he was like, dude, I'm a month sober. And I was like, no way. Like, I'm a month sober. And so, and we had coincidentally both gotten sober in the same week. And so when we ran into each other, and he was like a high school track star. So he was like a state champ, natural gifted runner. And so he had gotten back into running naturally because he's sober now and he's, you know, feeling good and doing his thing. And it was like, oh dude, let's go run. So I started running with him a lot. And that was just kind of exposed me to the like legitimacy of running a little bit. And then so that in combination with this thing called the November Project, which is this free fitness group that I had from following Rich Roll,
Yeah.
Having been tuned into like the vegan space, I was aware of Rich Roll, and Rich Roll had gone to this thing here in town. He got invited by a guy named Brogan Graham, who is actually a a buddy of mine, and a super super awesome dude. Like, just the vibes through the roof, and walking optimism, that guy. But he had gotten Rich to come out to one of the events, and so I had seen that happen and was like, oh shit, that's like down the street from my house. And so I went the next week. I went, and it was just this fitness group, and you just show up and they put you through a workout, and it was like all these people, like it's 6 a.m. and we're just in the football stadium at UCLA just running stairs, and like I didn't know anybody. I was a total stranger. I showed up alone. I'm like, maybe 2 months sober or something like that, and like just getting into fitness. So it was like very like, like I'm just gonna go do this thing, because like a lot of the self-work that I had been going through was, telling me, like calling me towards like new discovery, like, taking that step, like just going with the desire to try any and everything, and like setting your fears aside. Like that, the old me would have been like, no way, never be that vulnerable, don't expose yourself.
Yeah.
What if they what if they laugh at you, or what if like you embarrass yourself or whatever? So that would have been enough to keep the old me home. So I was like, well, you know what, screw that. I want to be somebody who tries things. I want to be somebody who can just show up and have a good time. And lo and behold, by the end of the first day, I'm fucking high-fiving and hugging strangers, and like these people became my friends. And so I started going to that every week. Yeah. And so I'm running with my buddy Jose. I'm going to the November Project every week, and I started to get tuned into like, oh shit, people train for stuff. Yeah. Like I'd show up in the morning and people, they would have their finisher shirt on from like some 10K they did or a half marathon or whatever. And I was like, oh fuck, that sounds crazy. Like that sounds, like that's really cool. And then my buddy Jose was like, well, I'm going to try. I can't remember what the first thing he did was, but he started training for something. And so naturally, I'm just like, well, I gotta train for something. And then my buddy Jose, he called me one day, and he's like, hey, I'm coming to pick you up. Like, don't trip. Like, we're going to go do a thing. And he picks me up and he takes me to this charity 10K in Temescal Canyon out here in like Malibu area. Yeah. And it was like an event, like a legit event. And so we ran it, and, I got like the shirt and all the stuff, and it was like, oh fuck, like, this is really cool. Like, this is a really, really, there's just the feeling. Like, it was so visceral and intense. And like, it reminded me a lot of like playing a big show or something, like for, from like the years of music and what that would give you, or even just going to like a huge show and just like that, like you're here and it's live and you're in it and there's people and the energy exchange. And so that first 10K was like, wow, I need to do more of this. And so naturally I'm like, well, it's gotta be big. And I'm like, well, I'm going to run a marathon. That was the first thought. I'm going to run a marathon. And then having been tuned into, guys like Rich Roll and John Joseph and these dudes who have done, at the time in my mind, the impossible, like I viewed
thing at that time.
Yeah, I had viewed Ironman as something that was only done by superhuman elite athletes that, were just above and beyond my capability. Like you hear about that feat and you're like, wow, you might as well have gone to the moon. Like, you're an astronaut. Like, there's no way. It's too late for me. I ain't doing that, And so, but with that being said, it was like, well, actually, no, that's the thing. That's the thing. I want to sit at that table. I want to be an Ironman. I want to be somebody who can do that thing. And so it was like, all right, well, how do I do that? And then that's where the pursuit started.
Yeah, dude, obviously I've known you for a bit since I moved here. I think I met you the first, like, within 2 days of me moving to LA at the party.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I kept hearing tidbits of like your story throughout like conversations and us connecting, but I'm really happy that I got to get the bigger picture of it. I want to ask you because I love those moments of like the grind where you're coming back, you know, and you talked about like those Rocky movies where he's running with the hoodie, like running and like
Yeah.
punching. And
Yeah.
when you were in that moment, did you know that you were in that moment? And you're like, fuck yeah, like this is the time where I'm coming back? Or you were just like, nah, I'm just trying to think of the next step.
You know, like, yes, and no, you know. I mean, I would say I'm still in that moment, you know, because like I'm constantly moving the goalposts, you know. Like right now I'm in that moment for the Leona Divide.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to be out on the trail, you know, when the sun's going down, you know, maybe with a hood on, depends on what the weather's like, but like fucking, you know, grinding it out. And like, so once I set that goalpost of like, it's this day, it's this time, I got to be there in the morning as fit as I can possibly be to get the thing done, then it's like, cue the music. And so I will say that that was like my initial redemption from, you know, what would be my final rock bottom for sure. And I was very aware of the fact that I was like climbing my way out of hell.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like definitely there's a little bit of awareness to the fact that this is me taking one step at a time, you know, one more rung up the ladder, getting out of that like pit of despair and working towards the ultimate redemption. And yeah, so for me, oh yeah, Dragon, Adam was cracking. And, you know, like, so that initial redemption checkpoint for me was that first Ironman.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was, yeah, it was, you know, the trumpets were going, the music was playing, the hood was up, and
Yeah.
I was grinding it out. And there was like a little bit of like, you know, like or not even a little bit, a lot of bit like of, I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what anyone thinks. I'm going to get there. I don't care what comes in my way. I'm going to get there. If my legs break, I will crawl to get there. And so like that was the mindset. It was just pure drive to become, for the first time in my life, what I told myself I would be, you know, because there were so many years of just excuses and reasons why and victim mentality and all of this stuff, you know, that keeps people limited, all of these limiting belief systems that I was just totally okay with for the vast majority of my life. I was just done with them. And I'm like, you know what? No. Like, I choose positivity, I choose optimism, and I choose success in my dreams. And so that first challenge, that first checkpoint was that first Ironman race. And so yeah, it was definitely the you know, the the biggest montage, I would say. But I mean, now that I know, holy crap, I can just achieve what I set my mind to as long as I take those steps. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what I expect out of myself moving forward, you know, every year of my life now. Okay, what are we going to get done? What are we going to do for the first time? And how are we going to do it? You know, like, because what else are we going to do with our time here? What else would I choose to do? You know, like, if I know that I can put a goal out there and just grind and chip away at the day to get towards it, then why wouldn't I? You know, so it's like movie montages from here out, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I love hearing that because I feel like there's a bit of an excitement that comes.
Mhm.
And obviously, sometimes you're in it and you like don't necessarily feel the excitement, but sometimes you know you're in it and you see yourself crawling out of it from like an outside point of view. You're just like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, shit's gonna be big. Like it's gonna be big once I cross that finish line.
Yeah.
Um, so I like what you said. Like when you set your mind to do something, that's the number one reason why I love fitness. Obviously, there's health and all that stuff, but like once you
Yeah.
accomplish a fitness goal, you're like,
Mhm.
holy shit, what else can I set? And not only in that realm, but in other areas of life.
Yeah, I mean, it really raises the bar of what you can expect from yourself, you know? Like, yeah, the gains in the health and all that stuff, like those are just beautiful, like inherent secondary gifts that you get from those accomplishments, but it's really what it does to the soul and the spirit and the belief within yourself. You know, for me, like, I needed that. I was headed downwards without that. You know, like, I didn't believe in myself. I didn't have faith in my own success. I didn't think that I would achieve anything other than, you know, dying in that apartment. And now it's like, oh man, I could run 100 miles. You know, like, it's not gonna look pretty and it's not gonna be easy, but I'm bet your ass I'm gonna get it done, you know. And like, I'm gonna do everything that I can to make it as doable as possible, which means, you know, eating well, going to bed on time, being consistent throughout my day, treating my body good, not doing all of these, you know, things that seem easy and will ultimately just hinder my ability to be successful in that goal, you know?
Yeah. So being laser focused and just training, like, you can run 100 miles, you can run 200 miles if you want to. As long as
people do it
long enough. If you train for it long enough, you can run however fucking distance you want. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I just want to answer, like, Justin, I saw his comments, like, we love you too. He's like, when is the long epic bike ride coming?
ASAP.
I applied for my visa, so it's pending, but I can buy a bike because I have more time. So I'm gonna buy a bike and then we can go cycling together.
Yeah. Let's set a date. Let's set a date for sure. Make it happen.
Yeah. Dude, I want to ask you, because I'm a big believer in mindset. I love human psychology. Like, that's what drives everyone's transformation. That's the only reason I'm in fitness. If you can transform your body or complete the marathon, complete the Ironman, then you know you have the strength to do whatever else you want to do in your life, whether it's like business, being a better partner, better position, whatever it may be. So I just want people to understand that, like, it's fucking doable. And, you know, your story is crazy, man. A lot of people will never have to deal with what you dealt with. Some people will never have to, like, conquer what you had to conquer. But if I asked you, like, Alex from when he was 20 years old, and I would go to Alex when he's 20 and be like, hey man, this is where you're going to be in like 9-10 years from now. You're going to be competing Ironmans, you're going to be vegan, you're going to be fucking crushing it at life. Like, what would you have told me? You'd be like, fuck, are you crazy? Or like, oh yeah, I can see it.
So what would my 20-year-old self tell me, or what would I tell my 20-year-old self?
What would your 20-year-old self tell you now? If you were able to go back in time and be like, hey man, this is what your future is going to look like.
Oh, he'd probably call me a fucking cornball and, like, tell me to get lost, honestly. Or, like, flick a cigarette in my face. Like, real talk. Like, real talk. I would have been like, oh, what do you wear, fucking spandex? You know?
The answer is yes.
Yeah. Hey, you bet I do, pal. You know how many days I'm walking through the grocery store to get, like, electrolytes with the shoes on, the helmet still on.
Yeah.
Spandex, ready to go, sleek. All right.
Yeah.
I'm in and out of there so quick.
Yeah. And so now reversing the timelines, if you had the opportunity to go back to a 20-year-old self, what would you tell yourself?
Not a thing. Not a thing. I'd let him go. I would, like, Back to the Future style, like, newspaper up, you know? Because the thing is that I needed to learn every single one of those lessons to become the person that I am today. Had I not gone through every single step of that journey, I wouldn't have, for whatever reason, whatever it did to my neurochemistry or whatever, it wouldn't have built me into the person who was capable of doing the things that I'm doing now. You know, like, had I never had that problem with drinking or you know, nipped it in the butt real quick, like, I don't know where I would be. I would make an assumption that it wouldn't be nearly as exciting or extravagant as it is now. And like, I love my life. I love my story. I'm grateful and fortunate enough to have survived that journey, because that's the sad truth of, you know, addiction, is a lot of people never will get sober. And that's ultimately why I work in addiction recovery now. And, you know, because if there's anything that I can do to help even just one person in the rest of my entire life, that's what I need to do with my time. I'm drinking coffee. I'm drinking coffee. Kahlua on the rocks.
Yeah.
So we haven't gotten to the end of this story yet. I'm off the wagon. No, it's just coffee. 4 years, 2 months dry. And yeah, I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing because it's in this timeline, in this reality, in this dimension, man, I am the highest version of myself that I should be. And every bit of that road was all a part of me getting to this moment talking to you. So I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't tell him shit. I'd get back in the DeLorean, I mean, I'd hang out for a little bit. I'd do some stuff. Real talk though, if I could travel back in time at all, I would go back to dinosaurs.
Yeah. Why is that?
100%.
Just experience it?
Yeah. I don't think there's anything that like real talk. This is my opinion. This has always been my stance. I don't think there's anything that I could see humans do that would be nearly as mind blowing as seeing dinosaurs. Like,
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, cool, humans building things out of like clay and whatever. Like it'd be crazy, but
you can go on YouTube.
Seeing like a bronchiosaurus like just tower over the land, or like 15 of them walking by. Like I don't know, that would just. And then like getting eaten by like a T-Rex would be a pretty cool way to go out.
Yeah. I love it. So, was there a question here?
Oh yeah, we got questions, or are we not that cool?
I think there was one, but it left. I'm not too sure the function question on it. But so you guys have any questions? Be sure to ask them in the comment section.
I see two.
Okay, go for it, man.
What do I just click on it?
Well, if you can read it.
Well, so one of them says sports and martial arts.
Oh, that's from my poll earlier today. I guess it's pulling up the questions from I did a poll of like, what kinds of cardio do you consider fun?
Oh, so those are like irrelevant. Yeah, because one of them just says tumbling.
Yeah. I guess tumbling is someone's favorite form of cardio, right?
Yeah. Well, what's actually funny? So like in my very early sobriety, in the nature of like, I'm going to try anything and everything. So initially, one of my first lines of thoughts is I'm going to revisit things about my life that I used to be in love with. So I started skateboarding again. Like I hadn't skated in a really long time. And it was like, I'm going to skate for at least like 5-10 minutes, like minimum. Like I'm going to get on a skateboard every day for a little bit and go skate. And I also was like, I'm going to get better at skating than I've ever been in my life. So so I started setting up goals. Like, all right, I got to land these tricks again. I got to get this good. I want to do something new on the board that I've never done before. So started skating again. I actually kind of forget that was with the running and the stretching and yoga and stuff. Like I'm hesitant to call it yoga because it was very basic, but like, skating was a huge part of getting moving, in the beginning of my sobriety. And then I also, I had a buddy who was a stuntman in the film industry, and he trained at a parkour gym. And so I started going once a week to a parkour gym. And because I always wanted to be able to do a standing backflip. Yeah. And that was like something that when I was younger, I had these buddies that were just really good at that stuff. Like in my first like high school hardcore band that I was in, my buddy AJ and then my other buddy Travis, they would like run up a street light and backflip off of it, and like they were just super like acrobatic. And I was always like, man, I wish I could do that. So like my whole life I just had like such FOMO of being able to flip around and do things. So I was like, that's something I want to learn how to do. So I started going to a parkour gym and like doing all this weird stunt stuff.
Did you ever do a backflip?
I did. Yeah. But I like messed up my ankle doing it. So because I rolled my ankle skating. Okay. And then it was getting better, and I did a backflip, and when I landed it like popped my ankle, and and it just messed up my ankle really bad. And then so over the months, as I started getting more serious about my training, and then ultimately like I'm gonna do an Ironman, I those things got backburner because I kept getting injured doing those things. So it was like, you know, try running on a sprained ankle. It's like not fun. So I was like, all right, well, I got to kind of choose which of these is like, you know, not more important, but more specific to the task at hand, you know?
Yeah.
Because I didn't give up skating. I essentially just traded my street deck for a longboard. And so it was like, okay, well, I can go push on the boardwalk, and like the chances of getting hurt doing that are much more slim than like dropping into a pool and trying to like do tricks and stuff, you know? Like skating a skate park. Like you're going to eat shit more often than you land things, for sure.
Yeah.
Like that's the nature of skating. You fall more than you land things. Like you're lucky if you stick it, you know?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was, huh?
You can definitely eat shit on a longboard. It happened twice when I with Nimai, and I was hit a little tiny rock. Just a little tiny rock. You didn't know it's there, and you just.
Yeah. I will say that, like, luckily I have enough skating under my belt to where just going forward, I'm pretty like good at not eating shit, you know, like if I'm just skating, like, and I'm also pretty good at falling. That's the one thing, is like the more you skate, the better you get at falling and like not really getting hurt, you know. That's also how I became friends with Nimai, was skating.
Oh, nice. So
yeah, because like we realized that we both like to go longboarding, and so it was like, oh dude, let's go skate. And so, and that was the day I met Chris too. Was I went to meet up with Nimai to skate, and it was like Chris, you know, doing the thing on the boardwalk, and like that was it. Like it was like every day moving forward. Like, you want to skate?
Nice. When did you meet them?
Like 2 years ago. Well, I had known Nimai like slightly just from like being in the space.
Mm-hmm.
I met him like, I don't know how many years ago, like 4 years ago at like a vegan event, you know, and it was just like, oh, what's up, dude? Like, whatever. So we like had kind of kept in touch. And then, yeah, it was like 2 years ago, like we finally like met up to go skate.
Yeah.
And so, but I didn't know Chris at all. It was, I had seen Chris in pictures, and like, that was the funniest thing, because like when he was like riding up on the skateboard, I was like, oh, this fucking guy.
Yeah. And you guys are best buds and racing together. That's amazing.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's like my closest friend, and it's just so funny because like I'd seen pictures at like the Green Wall at Gold's, and then there was like the dude with the dreadlocks, you know, and like I'd looked at his page a few times and just been like, oh man, Rastafari.
Yeah, nice. You got a few questions here. Some of them we've already answered, so people can go back in the recording. But one of them was like, how did you start your vegan life? And the other one was, how long have you been vegan?
Well, so yeah, it was 5.5 years ago. And you know, getting Bodhi. So when Bodhi came into the picture, it was time for me to stop eating animals. And now I will say that when I was younger, I did have some stints of like vegan vegetarianism when I was a teenager. Like being in the music scene and going to, you know, like shows and stuff, and going to, like Warped Tour was like the annual, you know, like ceremony for me and my friends growing up. And there was always like a pita booth there.
Yeah.
And so I had a few friends that were vegetarian and vegans and stuff. So for like 4 years of my teens, I was like vegan vegetarian. And then when I was like 19, 20, I started eating meat again. And then I wouldn't go vegan again until Bodhi came into the picture. So this time around, it's been, like 5.5 years. But essentially, I would say honestly that it's always been a core value of mine as long as I can remember.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of them is, that one was the answer to earlier, but if you could go back in your past, would you change something? Which I love.
No. Yeah. No.
There needed to be that buildup of events and pain to just trigger it at the perfect time when you watched that show and you had your dog.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, everything happens for a reason. And that's such a cliche thing to say. And even saying that after it is cliche. And so it's just like a cliche snowball. But yeah, everything does happen for a reason. You are right where you need to be to make the next best decision you'll ever make in your life at all times.
I love that. Dude, man, I just want to say, like, I know you have to go too, because you're working today, right? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do want to respect your time. I do want to say, dude, massive thank you for taking the time to jump on the live. Once I buy the bike, we can go ride. I'm hoping to do that within the next month. It's just, I went running yesterday. I'm like, it's crazy that I can run in February. It's so freaking beautiful here. It's like -30 in Canada. So I'm excited to be able to go ride with you outdoors and get some Justin to come down too. Any last message you want to share with the people listening live or on the replay?
I would just say, find something that you can do today that you might be sitting on the fence about, you know, whether that's like a journal entry or picking up the guitar and trying to learn some chords, or going for a 5-minute run, or stretching for 5 minutes, or doing 5 minutes of breath work. You know, like, no matter how big or small, try not to go to sleep tonight without challenging yourself for a little bit.
Good. I love that. And man, we got to record a podcast together. We'll find a time to record and get a full hour conversation. But yeah, dude, I really appreciate you jumping on the podcast, man. Excited to continue working out with you and do some more events. And I'll let you know when I come down to Venice.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no more secret workouts, huh?
Yeah. Well, that one was a last minute one.
Okay. Yeah. I see how it is.
I'll text you, man. But yeah, dude, have an awesome day, and I'll text with you soon.
All right, man.
All right.
Have a good one.
Ciao.